Okay, forgive the preemptive, or not preemptive, but the perfunctory nature of this video right off the top of my head. I literally just got off the phone, got all my notes right here. I wanted to get it on the camera before I begin to forget. So this one goes for the Retiring in Japan playlist under the chapter Buying a House in Japan. So here's the thing. We've bought our house, we've selected it, we've signed the contract, we've made the deposit. Now we need to come through with the remaining balance for the full purchase. Here's how it's going down, and this is what I wanted to capture for you. So the money has to be moved out of our investments in Japan. So the investment house in Japan has the money. I need to move that over to our bank. The bank then, I can then set up to transfer over to a remittance service, in this case, WISE. You could also use OFX. I like WISE for their fee structure, it's better. Do the currency conversion, and then the transfer, ACH transfer over to our bank in Japan. I've already got the process started. So this morning is the 2nd of January, and I wanted to wait until we kind of timed it so that we would do this at the start of the year, because this is a withdrawal from basically an IRA and I had wanted to time it so that it would fall in the new year, first year that we're retired, so that it's a better tax circumstance. So right, if I did the withdrawal in 2024 when I was fully employed up until the end of the year, and my wife was fully employed as well, we would suffer a far greater tax consequence. But doing it in January of 2025 was going to be a much smaller ding on our taxes, at least in theory. Anyway, so I did that this morning. I got the money's on its way over from the investment firm, on its way over to the bank. From there, here's the thing that I didn't want to do. I knew the money's in nice shape as long as it's sitting in my bank. I don't know whether I was trying to figure out, do I want to send it to WISE or OFX? Two different vehicles. They do the same thing, remittance and transfer overseas. And I've got them all set up and I've tested them both. They work. OFX is a little more expensive than WISE, but OFX has traditionally higher limits. It tends to be the service that people use when they want to buy a house and send the money over. But WISE, like in the last 6 months, raised their limits. They used to have a 1 million yen transfer limit. You could get the money over, but you'd have to do it in 1 million yen chunks. They raised that limit. Now it's a lot higher. So what I wanted to do was, as the money's on its way over to the bank account, I wanted to make sure that before I send it over to WISE, that if there are any roadblocks, any hurdles that would stand in the way of getting it all in one fell swoop. So that WISE support is fantastic. So I got on the phone with him this morning, and without giving you any particulars or details, here's the basic bottom line. You can read into this as you want per your circumstance. There were two questions that I had. One, will I have any problem getting the money in a big transfer? Like if I want to do all in one fell swoop, or should I break it up into smaller transfers and send it over? And what I was concerned about on the other end was that on our bank in Japan, how are they going to interact with that if they get like this one big transfer? Are they going to like run a red flag? Should we let them know ahead of time that this money's coming, or do it in smaller chunks? Or is that even more of a red flag if there's smaller chunks but still pretty big, still all of them big, coming over instead? So I wanted to get to the bottom of all that. So here's what I learned. No particulars. I'm not going to give any numbers or anything like that, but just the particulars. There is a limit to the amount that you can. Oh, so I knew I need to get free in my head. I'm just going to give you the numbers that they told me. The limit is, let's deal with the per transaction. It's $50,000 or equivalent transfer per day, per 24-hour period. So if you're transferring more than $50,000, then you need to stage it over multiple 24-hour periods to get all the money across. Get it? So do it something under 50,000 one chunk, wait 24 hours until the window opens up, do it again, and then again, right? So that's the first thing that I learned. So if I had tried to do it all in one fell swoop, I would have indeed failed, because it would have been more than that, and I wouldn't have known it. I would have panicked, and et cetera, et cetera. So now I know how to do it. So I'm going to come up with a transfer schedule, bang, 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 to do it down. Now this weighs in favor of OFX over WISE, because OFX, I believe, can do the whole darn thing in one fell swoop. So that would be, if you don't want to do the scheduled approach, and you want to do it all in one fell swoop, maybe OFX is the better solution. But OFX fees, and I did a head-to-head comparison. Sent the same pretty large amount of money over both on the same day, like simultaneously. I had the two windows open. I did a WISE and an OFX. OFX was a lot more expensive than WISE for sending the money. So if you want to save money on fees, maybe stick with WISE and just do the incremental thing. The second thing I was concerned about was the bank in Japan. Do we need to call them up and say, hey, get ready, there's a bit of money coming your way, because it looks suspicious? And what I learned was, and this is really interesting, it's again a $50,000 limit if it's in transferring from dollars into the bank and then into yen. So you get what I mean? If it's like coming from dollars to drop into the Japanese bank, $50,000 is your limit. But if you can first convert it to yen before you transfer it over, it's a 150 million yen limit, which is far, far higher than the $50,000. So the trick then is the trick is two things. One, schedule it if you're using WISE to get it across under the limit on the daily transfer, and convert it to yen before you do so, which is a no-brainer, duh. You'd much rather use that's one of the reasons to have the remittance service, right? Like WISE and OFX, so you can execute the currency conversion before you do the transfer and get the more favorable rate, far more favorable rate. So to do the two things. One, schedule it if you're using WISE, or be willing to eat the fees if you're using OFX and you want to do it in one big transfer, if it's assuming the amount you're sending is more than $50,000. And in both cases, convert it to yen before you send it over, so that it won't incur any problems on the Japanese side. And I asked him about my particular Japanese bank, and he said that it's pretty much in general the status quo as of January 2nd, 2025 for Japanese banks in general. There you go. I got it all out in one fell swoop, and I've got to go hang the laundry, and I wanted to sit down and get it out before I forget. I got a few notes here. I hope this helps, and happy house hunting and happy house buying and paying for when the time comes. And thanks again for any interest in my book, Retiring in Japan. You can buy it on Amazon. It's available if you're watching this on YouTube. It's available down in the link. You can buy it right from the listing. It's also available in my YouTube store. It's available for free to my Patreon supporters, and it's elsewhere too. Wish you all the best. Bye bye. Have a great day and Happy New Year.